I spearheaded the effort for the marquee restoration.
So we bought the building, remodeled it. Looks nothing like it used to.
The ugliest Christmas sweater I've ever seen.
Me too.
Talk you into doing this, didn't I?
You bet.
Ken Emerson, we're going to have Ken's wife on, Diane, coming up in a little bit. We're over at Emerson's on Main in Osage, the new location.
Yep.
That's all you got to say is yep.
You bet.
You know you're going to be saying more than that. Ken Emerson? Oh, we have a little background noise here.
That's all right.
I know. Let's talk about kind of your journey of life, because the whole idea with Mavericks, the podcast, is to talk about inspiring leaders, people that have been doing a lot, I think, not only for the community, but for themselves too. So you have an interesting journey, and we're going to talk about that coming up in just a second. But I got to give props to my sponsor, Alpha Roofing Company. They're in Mason City. They're going to be busy this summer, and you probably know why. We had a huge storm. It was August 11th. The derecho hit central and eastern parts of Iowa. So, so many different roofing companies and so many different construction companies are going to be after them. So give them a call. All right, Ken, I want to hear about your life story. So born and raised here?
I was born and raised at Little Cedar, outside rural Little Cedar.
So someone that doesn't know Little Cedar, I guess we should probably explain where Osage is. Most of the people that follow on this podcast are from North Iowa, but Osage is about 45 minutes northeast of Mason City. And Mason City is right in between Minneapolis and Des Moines off 35. So just to kind of give you an idea of exactly where that is. And Little Cedar is right down the road from Osage.
Northeast, yep.
Northeast. So what were you doing there in Little Cedar?
Well, I was born and raised on a farm, and yeah.
Just a little farm, huh? So, okay, where did you go? Did you go to high school in Osage?
Went to high school in Osage, and from kindergarten till I graduated high school. And then from there, I went to Upper Iowa University.
Okay.
In Fayette, small little town.
I don't even know where that is.
Well,
I wish I did.
You're missing out.
I feel like I'm pretty decent with geography, but apparently I need to go back to that atlas. So you spent most of your time in Osage, and I'm going to ask you some questions about historic Osage.
Sure.
But beyond that, okay, after college, that's where things got a little murky. That's how it was for me personally. I think prior to me going to college, things got, and I don't mean murky. I mean, not all of us have the clearest path, right?
Right.
Yeah. So you didn't just get done with college and decide to open up Emerson's on Main.
Correct. I bartended while I was at college.
Hey,
and
me too. Give me some dog.
And I enjoyed that, and did the normal thing growing up. We walked beans and worked on the farm, baled hay, did whatever the farmers wanted. And then I actually worked at a restaurant here in town and went to college and bartended. And then after I graduated, it was kind of tough out there. It was in the early 90s, late 80s. And
before the boom.
And I moved back. Actually, moved back home for a little while, and then Dad said it was time for me to get out, and so
time for you to get out, like he was done with you.
Yeah, that's right.
So my dad had to do that to my brother. Actually, there was a time where my dad's like, "How much longer are you going to stay upstairs?" And at some point, he finally decided to get a job. Oh goodness, he was probably in his early 20s. So I get that. Yeah. Continue. I just had to barge in and tell you that.
So I worked at a supper club, and then I went to work for Fox River Mills, and I worked in management there. Total of about 13 years, and I'd always bought my clothes here in town at a store called Fleming's Clothing. And I asked Bill and Janelle one time when I was in there about...
Any relation to any of the Flemings in Mason City?
They are not related.
Oh, really?
No.
So there's two types of Flemings in town.
There is.
That type, and then there's that type. Okay.
So, yeah, and I just jokingly one time told them to give me a call when they were ready to sell the business. And it was a couple of years later, and, I just thought, yeah, why not? We're going to try this. So...
Well, so you didn't just automatically decide to open up a clothing store. You had background in it. It wasn't just something where, like, if I came to the bank or if I came to you and said, you know what, I want to buy your Emerson's on Main, that'd be kind of goofy because I have no background in it, but you actually had some background. That's what you enjoy.
I actually had no background in it.
Wanted to make sure I reiterated that properly. Okay. So
I
why clothing though?
I still don't know what I'm doing.
Well, I know that, but
Why clothing? You know what? It was a good business here in town. They had been there 25 years, and it was an all men's clothing store. And so we jumped in that. My wife and I did.
At the time, you and Diane, which we'll talk to her in a little bit.
Yeah,
she's got some fun ghost stories. Actually, I'm going to try to pull out of her.
So we went to the banks, and finally our hometown bank here lent us the money, and it was a crazy time.
When was this, by the way? Early to mid 90s, early 2000s. I'm not good at.
It was 22 years ago, so whatever that makes.
1998.
Yeah, somewhere around there, and we changed things a little bit right away as we all see changes. So we changed it into a men's and women's clothing store. Soon to find out that there was more business in the women's era than there was the men's, and
they shop more, don't they?
They shop.
Well, that's the stereotype. I don't know. Who do you see more in your store? Women or men, or is it kind of a combination?
Definitely women.
Okay.
And women buy a lot for their men. So
that's a good point. All right. So you open things up. Obviously, there must have been some type of success there because you ended up branching out a bit. So after you opened the first one, you had some success?
Yep. We had Clear Lake had come to me, some people there, and wanted to know if I'd be interested in branching out into Clear Lake. And the first time they came, I was a little hesitant. I wanted to give it a couple more years and just kind of see how things went. And then I opened a store in Clear Lake, and that's been, I think, 14 years ago.
Okay.
So
it wasn't like, hey, you opened one and then all of a sudden you just started opening a bunch. There was a little bit of time period in between.
Kind
okay.
of
What, 8 years?
A lot of, we just reinvested in the business, and my wife kept her job at Fox River. And then
she is a gem.
She is a gem. Then she actually bought a business, and that is C&So, which is embroidery and screen printing business. And then she moved that into my building here in Osage. And then her business really took off for her. And so then we ended up deciding that we needed a bigger building. And so we ended up expanding across the street into 632 Main Street. And that's another whole story within itself.
Yeah.
And then we opened another business. We had somebody contact us from Mason City. And we ended up opening a scrub business, medical scrub business. So, and then I got the wild idea that I wanted to open a street store business also. So we ended up opening another business across the hallway at the Willowbrook Mall.
So my big question is, okay, you had all these businesses, and almost within these businesses, you had entities within the businesses.
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep everything straight?
Well, as we grew, when we first started out, we did everything by pen and paper. And then it got to the point where I couldn't keep up with it anymore. So we put in a system in the first location, then we put in the system in the second. So they're all tied together now. So the computer manages a lot of our inventory. And it made it a lot faster, a lot quicker. We know where everything's at and the locations that the clothing is at too.
So how many businesses have you owned throughout your career? We haven't even tapped everything quite yet, but
well, I started a little wine bar behind the Osage store, and it was called Ambrosia, and we did that for a couple of years, and then we decided my mom worked in our main business, and she got cancer and passed away, so we decided to close that down just briefly for that part of when I couldn't be there, and then we just decided that because of help, it was tough to find help. So we decided to just leave it closed.
And I think that's, just personally for me and what I've seen so far when I made the transition from TV to being an entrepreneur, that's probably the most challenging part is finding good help.
It's tough. We also ran the Cleveland Turret. I started, and that was an antique store in and refurbished furniture and so forth, and that was fun too.
So why did you open all these? Were you just not doing as well on some, or you just decided that, hey, there's an opportunity here to make some more money?
It wasn't about the money. It's never been about the money. I just like the challenge, and it's been just kind of I don't know how to explain it. It's just, you see something there that you think that looks like it might be something that we can work to make the Main Street better. And so that was kind of my main goal.
So that's what you think. You're not thinking selfishly like, hey, I can make money. This is for the better good for Osage and Mitchell County.
This is Mitchell County is an awesome place to live. And then after we did all those kind of crazy things, I helped fund to build our rec center in town. And so they kept bringing up that we needed a hotel. So I just started.
I didn't even have to ask about the hotel. Perfect.
So I started to.
When was this, by the way? The whole from CRC into the hotel.
8 years ago. So, all the years kind of blend together for me. I stay relatively busy, so the years don't and days don't mean as much as other people.
Mm-hmm.
But I went and I just started investigating on what we could do and what brand of hotel we wanted to build and how many rooms and then I had some meetings at my house and got some investors involved, and so we built the hotel, and it's been interesting.
How does the hotel help the community beyond the obvious?
Well, it has the motel hotel tax, which brings in a lot of revenue. A certain percentage of that goes to the chamber, and then another percent goes to the city, which is utilized for I believe mostly for bringing new people into town, and
like a tourism or development type of thing. Yeah, because when I lived in Cedarburg, they have this Cedarburg, Wisconsin, which is just north of Milwaukee. It's a very tourist stop. Every single business, especially they have the hotel tax, but every single business I think floods in a certain percentage into this. They call it T something D, which is Tourism Development Group,
right? Yeah,
which is great for a community like Osage. Now, if people that are watching that they've never been to Osage, name a couple of reasons why you think that this is a destination stop, why they should come here to visit.
Well, there's a lot of reasons actually. It depends on what you're into, as far as if you like to shop or if you like to eat or drink.
Where's a good place to shop?
Well, of course, Emerson's on Main. But we have a great school system. We have a lot of awesome churches. We have a lot of, like I said, we have great restaurants. We have great retail downtown. We have a brewery here. We have a great museum here in town. We have lots of things that go on outside of Osage. St. Ansgar and Riceville have a lot to offer. Even like little Stacyville and some of those little smaller communities have things. If you just go online, you usually can pull those up. So
it's a unique community, certainly. I mean, I've been to, and so have you probably, but I've lived in so many different spots. Osage, to me, definitely. I'm surprised just based on what downtowns have done in the last 10 to 20 years that we're still able to survive this downtown. Right. And it's still pretty vibrant. I mean, the fact that you have 2 gift shops or floral shops in town says a lot, and both of them do well. Mm-hmm. You have your clothing shop here that does pretty well, depending upon, of course. That's the big thing, I think, for downtown. It depends on the year. It can be challenging, right? In dead of winter. But then summer, fall, and especially Christmas, things will pick up. Mm-hmm. But isn't that any industry, I guess? You plan for that? Over the years, things like everything changes. And so, Osage's Main Street it looks really, it looks great compared to other towns. Oh, absolutely. And we're very fortunate. The people here take pride in our housing and in everything that's happening here in the community. So we have a lot of good factories, and we have a lot of good jobs here. Lots of good paying jobs. So that really helps. And we have a lot of great shoppers we're a destination town. We have been since I've been on Main Street. So we have a lot of support from a lot of different areas: Albert Lee, Austin, Rochester,
and just Charles City, Mason City. I mean, we're just really fortunate with what we have coming to town. So
Yeah, I would agree to that. I think there's a lot of unique things here besides the downtown. Spring Park is a pretty cool, I think, area.
We got a great hospital.
That's another thing.
Our hospital we're so fortunate to have our hospital here. They bring a lot of customers into Osage. They come to go to an appointment or come to see somebody in the hospital. And so we're really fortunate there. They come uptown. We're starting to have surgeries again. So there's just a lot of great things happening there too.
Well, you've been around the block too to know that there's a lot of, if you want to say iffy small town hospitals out there that you may not want to get care from, but that's a completely different story. I think at Mitchell County Regional Health Center, there's good people. I think there's great service. I mean, I've never personally got anything done, but anyone that I've spoken to, props to them.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
So we're going to bring on Diane, I think, pretty soon here, but I kind of want to know a little bit more about your relationship, and I'm going to ask her a little bit about the house that you guys lived on.
You're so crazy.
Yeah. So before you get to that, I got to do a little sponsor.
Yes.
We're about 10, 15 minutes in. Alpha Roofing Company, they are the main sponsor for this podcast, and we try to mention this about every 15 minutes or so. Roofing need that's going to be around the corner here as we get into March and April. Things are going to start to change. The cold air, the snow is going to be gone, and you may need some roofing done. You want to give them a call. They just added, so Jason and Willie are the primary owners there. They just added another owner, Derek Steer. So they're expanding too. They have an office down in Des Moines, and they have an office in Cedar Rapids. And my goodness, all the things that have been going on in that area. They've been getting hammered by snowfall this year, where we really haven't had a lot. And then obviously the derecho that hit August 11th, which was a really weird day. It was a weird day, and you guys can come on in. We're gonna do some rearranging here, get a little bit of behind the scenes. August 11th was a really odd day, and it wasn't one of those days that I think a lot of us were probably thinking what was going to happen. It was a day where we thought there was going to be a severe weather chance, but nothing that was going to be of this type of power. But that's a whole nother story. We're welcoming on Diane. Diane, what's your middle name?
Louise.
Louise. That's a beautiful name.
Okay, what's your middle name?
I'm the one asking questions here. Charles, actually.
Oh,
I'm named after two uncles that were killed in car accidents.
wow.
Yeah, one in 1969 and one in 1980. So a little bit before my time.
They were both named Charles?
One was Chris, one was Charles, and that's where my Christopher Charles comes from.
Oh.
Yeah, both on my dad's side of the family. But speaking of death, I know. I want to find out about this house and this ghost. So I'm gonna dive in, and I want to talk a little bit about that. I don't know what you can talk about, but I know I was doing some research, I think, on Emerson's on Maine, and I ended up coming across an article that was published, 9-10 years ago. Ken's like, why are we bringing this up? Tell me a little bit about the house, because it's kind of a, is it an Osage staple kind of a house? I mean, I think everyone pretty much knows about this home,
Yeah,
right?
It's called the Frank Lohr House, was the name we'd always heard, and it was built in the 1890s. And Ken and I had heard rumors before we moved into the house that the people that had lived there before had heard things and seen things, but we weren't really afraid.
Yeah. So it was a good ghost, or maybe did you believe?
Well, we didn't really call it a ghost. It was more like a spirit, I guess.
Okay.
And
So hold on. I'm going to back up a little bit. So you knew about the ghost. You didn't care. You bought the house.
right.
I'm sorry, the spirit. I
It's
forgot.
a beautiful home.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful home.
Have you ever seen the movie The Spirit of Mitchell County?
Ooh,
Anyway,
We were in that movie, by the way.
yeah, we were in that movie and they shot some of it in our old house. But anyway, so when we moved into the house, Derek was 5 months old, had been sleeping through the night. The day that we moved into the house, Derek stopped sleeping through the night. Something was awakening him. And Derek did not sleep through the night until he was 7. So, yeah. So we knew there was
So were you
something.
guys-
and we
Were you guys tired a lot then?
yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
Yes.
6.5 years of just being exhausted.
Yes.
So you knew something was there.
We knew something was there. And then when Derek got old enough to play by himself, we would hear him. He was talking and playing and laughing. And when we asked him who it was, he said, "That's my friend Gabi." And we're like, okay. And, we've heard of other kids having.
And Derek is your son, by the way, if anyone
Yes.
doesn't know. Yes.
We'd heard of other kids having imaginary friends. So we just kind of wrote it up to imaginary friends. And we'd heard things in the house, noises and this and that. But Ken and I just decided we weren't going to make an issue of it.
And you don't even believe any of this stuff, do you? I can tell by your face. Or you just want to ignore it.
Ignore it.
Okay. So
Yeah. So when Derek was, I don't know, 5 or 6, he came running through the house one night. Ken was gone, and he ran all the way up the stairs, and he knew Ken was gone, and he came down and he goes, "Mom, I thought Dad was home. I heard him walking around upstairs." And I was like, "It's okay, Derek. It was probably just Gabi." I mean, we wrote a lot of things off to Gabi, and then that way Derek didn't get scared.
where did the name Gabi come from?
Derek.
He brought
That's
it up.
what he told us the imaginary friend's name was.
Okay, so you guys spent how many years in the home?
20.
20 years. And never a negative experience there.
No, I was cleaning in the bathroom one day, and
I might need some drinks for this
and
one.
I turned around and I saw a little boy, and it was, I could see through him. It was just a little boy, and he had an old baseball cap on, and as soon as I turned and was seeing him, he disappeared. And I thought, maybe that's Gabi.
Did that scare you seeing that at all?
Didn't really scare me. I never was really scared in the house.
No.
The dog got scared one time. We had a dog, and she used to sleep in the front living room on the couch all the time. And one night she started barking, and she was looking up over the top of the fireplace, and she barked and she barked and she growled. And after that night, she would not go in to sleep on that couch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know what she saw, but
Oh my goodness. So did you guys do any research? I mean, I think
actually, yes.
Okay.
Irma Almquist came into the old store one time, and she was talking about the tile floors.
is she
down
well known
there.
in Osage?
Yeah, she's passed on now, but she was over 100.
Jeez.
So we wanted to find out if she'd ever seen that tile floor at the old store, and she remembered playing on it as a little girl. So then we asked her about the house and if she had remembered anyone passing away in the house, and she sat back and she thought for a while, and she's like, yes, a little boy died in that house back in the 19-teens of rheumatic fever. And that's exactly what she said. And I'm like, oh my gosh. She didn't remember his name, and we didn't research anything. I don't know how we would have.
Yeah, I think it would have been a challenge.
And we did find, you can tell them about what we found, the history of the people that owned the house and
The lures?
yeah,
Yeah. What is it?
just tell them about that. We had contact with somebody in the family now.
Oh, yeah. So Frank Lohr built the house, and he also had a furniture store
Mhm.
in the store where we're moving out of. So he lived in our house, worked at that store. Yeah, and he also had a funeral home business too. But one day, on email, I got a contact from someone in California, wanted to know. She'd seen an article and knew our names, and wanted to know if she could come here. She was a descendant of Frank Lohr, and she wanted to tour the house. And we're like, sure.
That's nuts.
Come on up. She flew out here from California, her and her daughter, toured the house, went out to the cemetery and found the headstones. And she had old pictures. And it was weird because the foyer at the house, we had a piano there. And that's the picture she had is exactly where the piano was. It was pretty cool.
Did you guys come back as them? I wonder. Like it's weird how it all kind of happened. So you guys did a little bit of research on it. You guys stayed there for 20 years. Why did you guys decide to leave?
Well, the house that we moved to, it was more or less presented to us.
Okay.
And
Someone wasn't kicking you out.
no, and we were like trying to decide if we should do this or not. And Ken and I are big prayers. We pray about everything. And it's like, My knees were getting kind of wore out from years and years of work and stairs, and it was a big old house, and we decided we needed to maybe downsize.
And let a family have it.
Yeah.
You know, it's a big house and it needed
For
a
just the
family in
two
it.
of
So
us.
we were very fortunate. The people that bought it have young kids, and they're using the house, and so yeah, it's nice to see that it's an old Victorian home. Yeah.
We really miss it though.
Do you?
Yes.
If you could redo it, would you have left?
I wouldn't have. She would have.
You would not have, though.
I would not.
Why?
I think we're supposed to be where we're at because the Lord has done a lot of things around our new house. It's filled every Wednesday with middle school and high school and small groups upstairs, and we really wouldn't have been able to do that at our old house where we are here. So I really think it was all orchestrated that we needed to move. So
No wonder you wanted her to come and talk here. She knows what she's talking about.
She does. She's very good speaking compared to me. Yes.
No, I think you're both great. So how did this happen? Who went and chased the other one? Everyone in Osage wants to know.
actually, I was working at Fox River, and Ken's mom was working under me. She was one of my supervisors at Fox River. And she came up to me one night and she said, "You need to date my son."
See, you had your mom get you set up.
There's way more to the story than that. Trust me.
And I said, "Which one?" Because she had two single sons. And so then we met at Ron's one night and decided we should go out on a date.
Where's Ron? Who's Ron?
Rusty's now in
Was a
Osage.
bunch.
Okay.
And so we got together on our calendars, and we were both busy for like 2 months. And so we set a date, and I was waiting at the door this night for him to pick me up. And I
It was
realized
April Fool's, by the way.
I realized it was April Fool's, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's not going to show up.
Did you show up?
I did.
Okay.
He did, and it was just like, wow. And we were together every weekend since.
Yeah, we stuck it out.
It was
together.
amazing. Yeah. And I always knew when I married him, he would someday own a bar and an antique store.
That was something that Ken talked about that he wanted to do.
He loved antique stores. He loved AJ's Attic. So he came into my house that night, and I had some decorations on the wall, old granite ware, the red and white granite ware.
Mhm.
And he looked at this dipper on the wall, and he goes, "That's my dipper." And I said, "No, it isn't. I bought it at AJ's Attic." And he's like, "I have a booth at AJ's Attic. That was my dipper."
So I did that, and actually, the place beside us here, that was AJ's Attic.
Oh wow.
The
So
store right
I
over
helped
here.
her get that store set up and so forth. When she was doing it, she died of a brain tumor, but anyhow, she was my agent. So yeah, so I did that too. I have done so many things I can't remember all of them all anymore.
How many businesses again? If you
I
can
don't
come
even-
through,
I
like a
don't-
dozen.
Well, like I say, I knew he'd have a bar, and I knew he'd have an antique store because he and I went antiquing a lot early on.
Why did you guys get rid of them then? Just too much?
Yeah.
That and antiques, everything changes.